Hey ladies, Karen here, and we are going to look at the ketogenic diet. So what is the ketogenic diet? It is basically 75% fat, high fat, about 20% protein, and about 5% carbohydrates. Now, even listening to that, most of you guys who are attempting to or thinking about a ketosis diet are now probably recognizing can't do it. Most people that are on a keto diet aren't on the pure keto diet as it is defined because it's too hard to maintain. Imagine only eating 2 cups of broccoli throughout the whole day, not eating any starches, not eating any fruit, no dairy, having just a 1 or 2 morsels of chicken at 3 meals only because it's only 20% protein. So that's only, if you're on a 1,500 calorie diet, that would be 300 calories of protein. It would be about 1,200 calories of fat. So it's pretty crazy, and it would be 75 calories, not grams, 75 calories of carbs, which is about 10 to 20 grams. So it really is extremely restrictive. Now, the ketosis diet was used and discovered as a brain thing. So ketosis is a brain thing, and people have adopted that going, oh wow, if it works over there, it might work for physique development. Not necessarily so, and it is not a good body fat loss diet either. So basically, epilepsy's been around for thousands of years. It's gone through its research as well, but what they recognized was in people, and it was Hippocrates who discovered 400 BC that people who were starving, didn't have food or drink as he called it, their epileptic seizures ceased. And they went, okay, this is really interesting, because they were trying to work with epilepsy. And then basically in 1911, doctors applied this fasting to people with epilepsy, and they found the same results. Now, people can't fast for long periods of time because it's just too hard on the body. Nobody wants to starve. Okay, nobody wants to go without food. We're hardwired for food. Our cravings and our cues go way out of whack. Digestive system goes out of whack. It's just not fun to do. So then they thought, can we fast without fasting? What they recognized was they could create the same chemical environment in the body when you had almost 0 carbs. And of course, if you have 0 carbs, you got to fill them in with fat and with protein. And they wanted to keep the fat high because they wanted then to use fat as a source of fuel in the brain of epileptics instead of the glycogen, glucose, carbs, sugar, same thing, right? That is where they got the results. The problem is, even in those medical establishments and overseen by a professional, the clients could not stay on a diet that was 75% fat, but even worse, 5% carbohydrates. It was near impossible for them to maintain. But what they then recognized was if they could do fasting for at least a few days, it takes 3 days to get into ketosis with fasting, 72 hours, they started seeing the same clarity in results and drop in symptoms in people with other neurological disorders like Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's. So there is some merit to getting your energy source from high fat and low to no carbs, but the problem is it's not sustainable. The other deal is, of course, when it comes to weight loss and performance, they're both hampered. We'll look at that in a second. So basically, in the 80s and the 90s, bodybuilders then went, oh, this is interesting. They, as we sometimes do, grab slivers of information and say, I can make a lifestyle out of this. This is really cool. I can eat cream and eggs and bacon and have 6-pack abs. The reason for that was because bodybuilders and physique artists go to extremes, and they knew how to take the diet to the extreme, but no pre-contest diet is ever workable long-term. We all know that. So basically, it didn't quite work out. So does the ketogenic diet work? It depends. I know this is what always gets people, but it depends. Depends on the person. It depends on their discipline, depends on their lifestyle, depends on their thought processes. Some bodies are better with it than others, but On the majority, no, not really. It's not really that beneficial. Now, what I say is most people don't do the pure ketogenic diet. They have a higher fat because, wow, isn't that nice to be able to have bullet coffee where you can stick butter in your coffee? Woohoo, that sounds great, right? Still be able to train and perform. It's just a great way of having lovely, yummy foods, right? And then they slap the label keto on it or paleo. They're kind of similar in a lot of ways. But having butter in your coffee does not make you a keto person, okay? Basically, think about a keto meal as you've got a big plate of salad, or dare I say, all sorts of kale. You guys know how I feel about kale. And you might have some cauliflower, and you might have some broccoli in there. No carrots, they're too high. No tomatoes, they're too high in carbs, whatever. And then you have 2 little helpings of chicken or fish, about this big, on the salad. And then you have like half a cup of olive oil. That is a ketogenic meal. So not many people like to eat like that. Not many people can sustain that for 5 meals, 7 days a week, week after week, month after month, year after year. The other deal is there are some health issues, of course, because now people are taking keto to the extreme in the physique world, and they're starting to people are getting issues with fatty liver and arterial sclerosis, hardening of the arteries, heart issues, that kind of stuff. So it is not a healthy, sustainable way to eat. So basically, what you can and can't eat is pretty restrictive. So it's in your booklet here, but basically small amounts of protein, meat, fish, poultry, eggs, seafood, that kind of stuff. And then you've got huge amounts of fat. I love the list that these guys put out. Avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil, and any other oil. Nuts and nut butters, bacon, fatty bacon, egg yolks, butter, cheese, especially high-fat cheese, right? No low-cal cheese. Very small amount of very low-carb veggies. Leafy greens, broccoli, cauliflower, woohoo, party on. Brussels sprouts, cabbage, asparagus, cucumber, celery. I never understood celery's existence myself. Peppers, mushrooms, and zucchini. Well, healthy, but where's the oomph? And then here's what you can't eat on a ketogenic diet. Most dairy, except high-fat items like butter and fatty cheeses. No fruit, no grains, no beans, no legumes, no starchy veggies. So no potato, no rice, no oatmeal, no yams. Slightly sweet, no slightly sweet vegetables like squash, beets, or carrots. Whoa. So basically, it's a very restrictive diet. It cuts out whole food groups, which most of us coaches do not support that when it comes to balanced level eating plans. Basically, can you drop weight on a ketogenic diet? Yes, but not necessarily body fat. There's a big difference. You will see body weight go down generally because you're cutting calories because you're cutting out carbs, and carbs also hold water. So for every gram of carb, you're holding water with it. So 3 grams of carb, 1 gram of water, and those get released. So you're losing weight, but it's not body fat. The other thing is you cannot build muscle without carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are protein sparing, meaning your muscles will build because it will use carbohydrates for fuel instead of the muscle itself. So when we say, a ketogenic diet, if you're trying to build your physique, it's like putting on the gas and the brake at the same time. So there are 2 systems that are fighting against each other. So again, you're going to hamper your physique goals. The other thing is there's this whole relationship between insulin and carbs, and we've demonized insulin. And no, we need insulin to shuttle stuff into the cells. And insulin is just one hormone responsible for shuttling fat into the cells, but insulin is not the devil. And we need insulin because it allows all the other processes in the body to work. When you cut carbs, we don't have that insulin factor. The other deal is thyroid function goes down when you have when you cut carbs, and your hormones go wacky as well. Your digestive issues increase, or it upsets digestive homeostasis. So you've got all these things happening because you've cut carbs out of the equation. So does it help with performance? No, not necessarily, because carbs are performance generating, and there's very little research, and the research doesn't move to the fact that you can use fat as an energy if you're in performance athletics, unless you're an endurance athlete, and those research moments are little. So we have to take a look at that. So basically they say if you want to do a ketogenic, you have to define it, clearly define it, or you're just doing a version of it, or you're just doing a low carb diet. And you need to have specific medical intervention and somebody overseeing it. And I like what they say in the article. Dr. Google is not sound medical advice. So you can't go to Dr. Google to try to find it. So don't use ketosis or fasting alone to cure anything. Don't use ketosis or fasting just to randomly get healthy. And medical supervision does not mean Dr. Google. So there's more and more coming in with ketosis all the time. Again, what I find is that most people want to call it ketosis because it's really cool to put butter in your coffee or to be able to eat bacon, to be able to do that. But it really is just Atkins revisited. And anybody who is really serious about it will manage their fat loss instead of their weight loss, which are very different things. And you can't sustain it for a long period of time. And my whole deal is you can't eat one way to lose the weight and then eat another way to stay there. It is about creating a lifestyle through the weight loss and through weight maintenance. That is the key to success, and research has shown this time and time again. And again, most people that talk about being in ketosis or doing a ketogenic diet are just people that are eating higher fat and they're lessening their carbohydrates and calling it a ketogenic when it's not a pure ketogenic, because it's 75% fat, high fat. 20% protein, 5% carbohydrates, and they're always fibrous carbs, never starchy. And you can't have fruit, you can't have dairy unless it's high fat. You can't have beans, you can't have legumes, you can't have any kind of starchy carbs or sweet carbs as well. So please be wary of that. That is the ketogenic diet. Please take a look at your booklet, the ketogenic diet. There's some interesting research in there, pretty easy to read, but it definitely is what I would consider a fad diet, and its time has come and gone through different names, low carb, Atkins diet, in and out, and it will probably resurface again in another 5 or 10 years with another name. All right, ciao.